So, which is the best Arkham game out of the four we have got? Obviously, we got other Arkham games such as Arkham VR and also Arkham Blackgate for DS and Xbox and PlayStation. I don't really know. However, today we're going to be discussing which Arkham game is the best out of the lot. Anyway, let's start with the 2008-2009 game Batman Arkham Asylum. Batman Arkham Asylum was a great start to the game series, and the main thing I took away from the game was that very real experience that you're playing the Batman in a 3D game, just so well made as well. What really made the game for me was the gothic atmosphere. It was so dark and so dirty. You actually felt like you were in a prison. You felt isolated with the character than just the environment itself. They nailed all the characters with their own personalities. Joker's was so well done, but they did have Mark Hamill from the animated TV show, which Mark Hamill later on voiced for Arkham City and also Arkham Knight. Also, the story in Arkham Asylum alone is very good. Just take the Titan formula and how that links into Arkham City when that gets mixed with Joker's blood. We find out that his blood later on gets sent off to Bloodhaven, where Robin has to stop it in Arkham City. However, that's talk about Arkham City now. The one thing everyone criticised Batman Arkham Asylum for was its boss fights. However, I'm not going to criticise that too much because the game wasn't originally meant to have boss fights. They were just going to replace them with cutscenes. And to even get the boss fights for me was just an extra cherry on top. It was just, they didn't have to add it, but they ended up doing it like at the end anyway. Everyone's main criticism about the boss fights is obviously the last one with the Joker. However, once again, I'd rather take that over a cutscene.
Oh, a little bat.
Let's move on to Batman Arkham City. Batman Arkham City was a revamp of Arkham Asylum, just so much like cleaner, just so much tidier, given so much more accessibility and even environment. We were given so much more. At the end of Batman Arkham Asylum, there are no goons to fight. Once you're finished with the game, you're just left solving riddles, and once you solve the riddles, there's nothing on the island. You're just left on the island in Batman Arkham Asylum. However, in City, there's constantly something to do. There are so many side missions that you get to choose. It's not just the Riddler. You constantly have fightings and beatings going on. You have Two-Face thugs going against Penguin's thugs, and that's going the same with Joker's. Joker's men have their own territory, which is very interesting. They own the steel mill and like the Sionis area. The story, once again with Arkham City, is near enough perfection. You get more or less two bosses than just the one. This would obviously go for Hugo Strange and also the Joker. However, Hugo Strange, you could debate there's three bosses because you got Ra's al Ghul as well. How the Joker dies at the end of the game as well, when you least expect it, because you would think, oh, they're gonna, just use the Joker for another game because it's easier to do a Joker and Batman story than it is any other story realistically. What I also really like is like the little details in the game, how you can go down Crime Alley and literally see Bruce's parents, like where the chalk outline is, listen to the tape that Hugo Strange left on the side to fuck with Bruce Wayne's head. The idea that Hugo Strange knows Bruce Wayne's identity the entire game, however, never mentions anything. How Protocol 10 literally fucks the entire game, how Batman suspects it's Joker who's behind it all, but never was. It ended up being Hugo Strange and Ra's al Ghul. The Joker's part in the game was more getting Batman ill and possibly other people by transferring his blood all across Gotham and Bloodhaven, and whether there was anywhere else, I'm not entirely sure. The Joker had such a big role, but his was more to slow down Batman, and if Batman didn't get ill and he didn't have to focus on the Joker as much, he would have taken down Hugo Strange and Ra's al Ghul that bit quicker. Batman's soon to die, however, once he has the drink from the Lazarus pit from Ra's al Ghul. He gets some of his strength back. He's literally about to die. He sees his parents from the light, and then he pushes through it. And yeah, it's just such a crazy experience to still go back to this day, even though it's just a video game. It's nice to be playing Batman at his weakest, but also his strongest. Another point is, in this game, easily has one of the best boss fights of all time in video game history, and that would be the Mr. Freeze fight. The Mr. Freeze fight, so it's really difficult to say on the tongue. The Mr. Freeze fight is fucking amazing. It is genuinely perfect. All these skills you've had to use throughout the game so far, you're having to use in this one fight, and they're all having to do with stealth. Even some just like not as stealth. You blow up a wall to like obviously knock him down. You use your electric charge to pull him into like an electric pump thing. Like it's very smart. Like all the different takedowns you have to do on him as well. Now that takes me into Arkham Origins when we talk about good boss fights. Arkham Origins is easily it's heavily criticized, and whether it deserves it or not, I don't want to speak about that in this video. However, I was a fan of the game. Yes, it did have its bugs, but I do feel like the story and the boss fights, just all the detail they put into that game was very underlooked. If you take the investigation work, for example, in that game, it was so good that Rocksteady carried it on into Arkham Knight, but just expanded on it a bit. However, I do prefer it in Arkham Origins to Arkham Knight, surprisingly. Arkham Origins story is still amazing. We have a younger, brutal, dark Bruce Wayne, Batman, and he's still learning what's right and what's wrong. He's definitely more the vengeance Batman like we get in the latest Batman movie. He's a lot more brutal in this game, and how he acts around the people that he loves is really shown. If you see his relationship with Alfred throughout the game, it is very evident that Bruce is taken away from Batman. He doesn't know how to separate the two, and that obviously changes when Alfred nearly dies, and then Bruce knows how to separate Bruce Wayne from Batman. And although Batman's meant to be this terrifying being, you see at the end of the game he's a lot more calmer and reserved, whilst at the beginning of the game and like two-thirds of the game, Batman's this really dark, angry person. He's a very young Batman. It's very nice to see. I think he's year 1 or year 2 Batman, and it's unbelievable. However, that being said, it is very much like Arkham City, which is fine for me. I'm more than happy with that. But my only issue is, why is this suit so much better? Not better, but like I'm not going to talk about the design. I love the design, but why does his like suit look a lot more effective than it does in Asylum and City? I feel like it was a little bit overdone. He's got like an assassin outfit, which is fine. It's definitely fine, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking that away, but I do feel like it's a bit too much considering what we had from the last 2 games previously. Talk about Arkham Origins though, it is very underlooked and very underappreciated. It's one of my favorite games of all time, whether you believe that or not. It is. Talk about the Deathstroke fight. That was one of the biggest fights that was probably ever done in the Arkham games. I really like the fight. However, what I will say is a lot of the gamers were misled by all the trailers they released for this, leading to some gamers being disappointed by it. I still enjoyed it. It still gives me nostalgia and goosebumps. However, I can see when people are disappointed by it. Black Mask is like your main objective throughout the beginning of the game, and then he's sort of just left as this really boring, shitty side quest little boss fight, and that was my issue with him. Also, the Arkham Origins map and the environment is city but just bigger, and I can't say that's much of a positive personally, because you have that massive fuck off bridge, which is very like cool, like we saw with the Firefly fight, which is really cool. I'm not taking that away. That's a fucking amazing boss fight. Amazing. Throughout the game when you're having to just travel that constantly. I know there's fast travel, but before you could do that, or if you just want to play the story, it is so annoying having to get past that bridge constantly. But overall, I really enjoy this game, and I think it was very underappreciated, and I really enjoy it. That moves on to Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight, when it first came out, got so much hate and criticism by even my favorite game reviewers. And did it deserve it at the time? Is a very, very mixed opinion from everyone, I think. I'm in the belief it didn't deserve all that criticism, unless if you have the PC port, because the PC port is not great. Apart from nowadays, it's very fixed, it's very tidy, it looks clean. I play it on PC and on my Xbox. It is a beautiful game, and the game's graphics, the game's physics, just everything about the game still holds up in 2024. It still looks like a new game to me. It just looks beautiful. The main criticism I noticed from this game was the Batmobile and its boss fights. The Batmobile, yes, a bit of an overkill. However, I won't lie, I kind of enjoyed it. Like, don't get me wrong, there were times where I thought, oh, bloody hell, like, it's a bit much. But, saying that, I quite enjoyed it. Just the idea you could run through enemies, and the game says they're unconscious, but let's be honest, they are most certainly dead. The most annoying thing about the Batmobile, though, I will openly say this, is the Deathstroke boss fight. Deathstroke, we have a very cool fight with him in Arkham Origins, to then have this assassin who's hiding in a tank for a boss fight, which makes zero sense to me. Why would you have Slade in a tank? The whole Jason Todd thing, if you didn't get that he was Jason Todd from like the very beginning of the game, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know how you didn't see it. What I do really like, though, even though the Joker is dead, he is still part of you, and the idea that everyone's still looking for the last Joker when deep down Batman knows it's him. He's got, let's just say, Henry Adams, who's gone missing on these posters, but really Batman's just captured him and the three others, and he's had to hide them whilst Harley Quinn wants these Jokers because she's still obsessed with the Joker, wants to bring the Joker back, and Batman himself is the last Joker, and he's got to try and protect himself from the others. Like, he can't, if suddenly the Joker wins, that's the entire Gotham is just fucked. You can't have a Joker built Batman, because yeah, it'd be kind of crazy. The DLCs where we got Mad Hatter, we got Mr. Freeze, we got, who else do we have? We got Ra's al Ghul and Killer Croc. They're not really boss fights as much. We get to see these characters for being the broken characters they are. Look at Mr. Freeze once he finally reconnects with Nora. He's destroyed, but he's also happy. Like, knowing that she's finally defrosted and she is going to die of cancer. But he's finally able to see her, and she's able to see him, and she's sick of living in ice. I was visibly crying at that, and just speaking about it, bro, oh my god, it's making me want to cry again. It's such a sad ending to their story. We get to finally see the ending to these stories that we have long awaited to. Killer Croc, we get to see the mess and how broken he is, the way they experimented on him, the new design for him compared to the older games to this one is just amazing. The difference, they actually made him as a terrifying creature. Don't get me wrong, that Arkham Asylum fight was still sends shivers to my spine. The Scarecrow himself throughout the entire game is to have it based on him is just absolutely amazing. Setting in Halloween as well. Oh god, game just it makes me so wet thinking about it. But that leads to the answer: what is the best Arkham game? And I know it's an obvious answer, and you're going to hear this a lot from everyone, but it is Arkham City. I think I have my own different views. I personally don't believe it is City, but I can't be biased. I will say City is a vast improvement from the Asylum game, and then it's not an overpowered Batman either. If you look at Arkham Knight's Batman, once you get that new suit, you're just so tanked. And or is it you get the Batmobile as well? Like, you're undefeatable in Arkham Knight. It's near impossible to die. Whilst City, they added so many new things. Like, you're playing Batman at his strongest and his weakest, and his like most vulnerable here and there. Don't get me wrong, you get that in Arkham Knight quite a bit. You're playing him as a very vulnerable character. But I feel like in Arkham City we get more the emotion of Batman and his connections, watching people die around him. Like, nearly every character you think of dies in that game, and whether they're brought back, it still makes a very good story. Like, Ra's al Ghul was brought back, Clayface dies, Joker dies, Hugo Strange dies, Talia al Ghul dies. I will rate every Batman Arkham game, in my opinion, out of 10. Starting with Asylum. A lot of people are going to disagree with this, but it's a 10 out of 10. Loads of people give it a 9. I'm giving it a 10. It is perfection, in my opinion. Arkham City is a 10. Easy. Absolutely easy 10. Then we go on to Arkham Origins, which I'm going to give a 7 out of 10 to. And Arkham Knight, which I am nowadays an easy 8 out of 10. It is, if you haven't played Arkham Knight, please do. It is so underlooked. It is an amazing game. You guys have been amazing. It's been Ben. You're the real ones.